Hello friends, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn for ChessOpeningsExplained.com, and today I want to present to you my game with none other than the current world champion Magnus Carlsen. That's right, I got to play Magnus at the recent massive open tournament where all the best chess players played the Isle of Man in England, and I faced Magnus in round 2. Keep in mind, our rating difference is about 300 points. He's 28-27 and I'm about 25-24. So in the game, I play the move d4, and I have to jump ahead and tell you guys that I got a great position out of the opening. And clearly, Magnus is not a member of our side, because he should have known better than to walk into my preparation in the perk. So after g6, e4, d6, knight c3, bishop g7, this is the modern move order. The modern or the perk are very similar, but what Magnus is trying to play is the Tiger modern, named after Tiger Hillar Peterson, very strong Scandinavian grandmaster, who recommends the system a6 and b5. So the idea here is that black is already threatening to play b4 at the right moment. He's going to put the bishop on the long diagonal, indirectly put pressure on the e4 pawn using the b4 idea, and as a result, white's going to face some difficulties. Notice that Magnus is not even sure about his kingside development. He's keeping the knight on g8 so that the bishop has a very strong range on this diagonal. Now, of course, you cannot simply play chess like that and expect to get an advantage with black, right? White hasn't really done anything wrong. And after the move bishop d3, white firmly is in control. I have not violated any of the opening principles. 2 pawns control the center. 2 knights are perfectly developed. The 2 bishops are supporting my center, and I'm about to castle. Perfect harmony from white. I was not impressed with black's aggressive play. Magnus plays knight d7, and here comes my sort of idea, not specifically for this game, because Magnus plays everything. I cannot possibly predict that this opening would have happened, right guys? But since I analyzed these positions for Chess Opening Explained and I co-authored the books, I definitely knew that this position may happen in one of my games. That's why I analyzed this move e5, and as a matter of fact, I have played a similar move e5 in a slightly different position in Reykjavik Open. And that game, black played bishop b7, and this was played by Leon Piasecki, a very strong international master from Canada, and I played e5 against him in this position. Same exact idea, trying to take advantage of black's poor development and strike in the center. So same thing happens in this game. Going back to the Magnus game, after the move knight d7, I strike the center with e5. Well, you guys may think, hold on Eugene, didn't you just blunder a pawn? I've got 3 attackers here, 1, 2, 3, and you only got 2 defenders. And after pawn takes e5, this looks like black simply grabs a central pawn and stands better. Well, obviously Magnus is not going to fall for this trick, because here white has a beautiful idea. This nice intermezzo move bishop e4 puts pressure on the rook. Rook a7 is no good. You're stepping in the diagonal of the e3 bishop, so you got to play rook b8. And after pawn takes e5, white sets up a very nasty idea. Bishop a7 will trap the rook outright. And if black doesn't play knight takes e5, which allows queen takes d8 and bishop a7, let's say black plays bishop b7, here white can simply either take on b7 or even immediate e6, pawn takes knight g5 with huge domination. So this kind of idea e6 is looming in the air, and I cannot take full credit for this idea e6, what I played after bishop b7, because this is actually a well-known idea. This was played by none other than Vishy Anand against Svidler back, I believe, in 1998 or 97, And already this pawn sacrifice, is well known and should not come as a surprise for the world champion. Well, Magnus quickly took. He's not impressed. Knight g5, the point of my sacrifice. Now if he takes on g2, he has to cope with knight takes e6, hitting the queen, intermezzo check, winning the bishop, and also I have rook g1 tempo. So this is absolutely not recommended. He plays knight f8 quickly, and I simply castle. So you can say that both of us sort of were happy with our positions, right? I was happy because I got to execute my preparation, my analysis of this line that I did a while back. I felt that white has sufficient compensation for the pawn. Magnus probably felt happy because he's playing against a much lower rated grandmaster and he wants a fight. Well, obviously the fight is unavoidable at this moment. I am down material, but black needs to figure out this awkward placement of his king side pieces. How is he going to castle? That's the big question that Magnus has to answer this game. All right, so the fight is on. Let's take a look what happens next. Queen d7, protecting the e-pawn and not walking into a well-known trap that was already played in one of the grandmaster games. I think Colin McNabb, the English grandmaster, played h6 and fell victim to a beautiful combination. Well, guys, if you want to try to practice your tactics, why don't you pause the video and see if you can punish black right away. And I'll give you a little bit of a hint. The e6 and g6 pawns are really weak, and try to look for immediate refutation. And here it goes. Bishop takes g6 exclam, sacrificing the bishop, and then we have the fork, hitting the queen and the bishop on g7, and now a check, king f7. Knight looks like it's trapped, but in reality it's not, and we have a naked king. White is simply winning here. So absolutely not something that you want to play as the world champion, but nevertheless Magnus had to sidestep all of these traps. So he plays queen d7, rook e1, logical move, right? I'm trying to put pressure on the e-file. e6 is tender, knight f6, and here comes my, you can say it novelty or over-the-board inspiration rather, or simply a logical idea. So the game that I mentioned earlier where Anand was playing white, he simply dropped the bishop to d2 with a logical idea to, play queen e2, maybe a4, b4, knight e4, just kind of centralizing everybody, putting pressure. Now I said to myself, I don't want to waste the tempo. I don't want to go back to d2 with my bishop. And I played a4, which I think is the right decision. Well, Magnus says, I'm not in the mood for opening up files. b4 is logical. Knight a2, that was my point. Now if a5, c3 is inevitable and more files will be opened up. And the king is not quite happy when more files are opened up because there's no coordination here. He's not going to be able to castle anytime soon. And Magnus immediately grabs the a4 pawn. Wow, what a game. I'm down 2 pawns, yet attacking against the world champion. So this was probably the first critical moment of the game. And a lot of my students ask me, well, you just simply gave up 2 pawns. How are you going to get them back? And the problem is that a lot of low-rated players really think too much in terms of material, right? You count the material, you value the position in terms of material. If you don't see how you're going to get your material back, you are unhappy. But this is not how you play chess. You look at all the different pieces on the board. For instance, the rook on h8. How many moves will it take for this rook to enter the game? It's not obvious. What about the knight on f8? What about the king on e8? Is the king ever going to castle? So you can say that white's 2 pawn down, but I can also say black's the whole rook on h8 down, right? So this is all relative. The material is relative, pieces are relative. You have to look at the whole board. And the right question to ask yourself is, if you're playing white, not how quickly white will gain the material back, but what's black's next move? How can black try to consolidate his position? And the answer to that question is black wants to play a5 so that the queen can safely return to d7 and start regrouping with the 2 extra pawns. Therefore, my next move is very strong. Queen e2 exclam. This is the move that Magnus Carlsen probably did not expect. And after this move, he went into huge thing. He thought for 30 minutes and couldn't come up with anything better than h6. Now, h6 may be objectively not the best move, but to find the engine's top recommendation is not easy as well. The move c5 is definitely not a human move. You're trying to open up the board with the king stuck in the middle of the board. But after d takes c, the point is queen c6, this very important intermezzo, allows him, after, for instance, knight f3, to win back on c5 and maintain pressure against my position. I'm not sure if I would even take the pawn, honestly, on c5, because position is so complicated, it will require a lot of effort from both sides to really understand what's going on. And typically in these situations, I'm not surprised when the engine starts showing evaluation as roughly equal, meaning that white's compensation is enough for equality and maybe not more than that. But nevertheless, h6 is what Magnus played, knight f3, king f7, and now another very strong move by me, bishop to d2. This pawn on b4 is going to be gone no matter what because of knight takes. I'm also setting up a nice battery. The knight on f8 can't move. So Magnus makes the best practical decision. He's going to give up the pawn. Why not do it now? Knight c3, good tempo move on the queen. Queen d7, c takes b. Rook b8, another great defensive move. See, he wants to trade pieces. The bishop on d3 is attacking both sides of the board. He simply wants me to take the pawn. And after bishop takes, for instance, rook takes, he can recapture on b3 and little by little try to regroup. Now again, I was not in the mood for winning the material right back. I simply played rook a3, protecting my pawn, and also telling my opponent I'm ready to double up at any moment and get my pawn back. Well, Magnus plays knight d5, and at this moment I realized that trades are definitely not good for me. That's why I played knight c4, knight to e4, and the idea here is that the knight can jump to g3, support h4, h5 push, and try to attack the king. So far so good. I'm putting lots of pressure on the world champion, and Magnus is defending quite accurately. King g8, again, the logical idea, he wants to do what is called castle by hand, put the king on h7, free the rook, etc., etc. But I say, wait a minute, I'm gonna be waiting for you. h4 exclam. Now king h7 runs into a very thematic h5, and especially if he takes, that would have been a great win against the world champion, the miniature win with knight f6 mate. That's right, I'm not even going to take the queen because it's game over. King is checkmated from the knight and from the bishop. So that would have been in my dreams, of course, because Magnus simply plays queen to e8. That's probably one of his best moves in the game, and now it's not so easy for white to get the attack going. All right, guys, take a look at the position. Can you create any attack? Well, this pawn, he can simply take. We're going to play g5. There's no attack there. e6 and g6 are well protected, and it's not obvious how I can optimize my pieces even further. Some commentators were suggesting the move g4, which looks quite aggressive, but keep in mind, you also have a king on g1. This may really hurt white in the long term, whereas h5 could easily be met by g5 and g5 by h5, locking things up completely. So I wasn't quite ready to play g4, and I think I played the best move, bishop takes a6, and the best engines really approve of this move. Bishop takes, queen takes, I'm getting my material back, and now I'm still attacking, yet black has this really monstrous knight on d5, defending a lot of key squares, and honestly, not so easy for me to break through. So he plays bishop f6. I like the idea to play king g7, queen c4, knight d7, knight c3. Notice that I do want to trade this powerful knight. If knight takes c3, I will take on e6 with check, or b takes c, immediately giving white a big advantage. So he obviously plays the other knight to b6, I regroup, queen f7, and now the first difficult moment of the game. I would say the first psychologically difficult moment of the game. I can be pawn up against the world champion with queen takes pawn. And after queen takes, rook takes, king f7, simply go back to e1. But obviously, I felt that this is not enough. Yes, white's a pawn up, but I have crippled pawns. He's got this beautiful outpost. And now finally this rook that was dormant is entering the game. This is not the way to fight for the advantage. And good thing that I didn't really consider queen takes e6 seriously. I played a very good move, knight e4, keeping the attack going. So now the knight could regroup to g3. I can play for h5. And these are called redundant knights. They're stepping on each other's feet. This is not good. So here Magnus plays after knight e4, rook f8, and somehow the time pressure and the fact that I'm playing the world champion, I think, got to me. And I played inexplicable, terrible decision. Knight takes f6. Everything that I told you about earlier is gone. All my advantage is gone after pawn takes, queen takes e6. Of course, I knew that this is not the right way to play. I felt that white should continue the attack, but I simply failed to find a plan. And with the time ticking, and you don't see a clear plan or a clear move, you really are in trouble. And this is where I went wrong. After rook f8, my initial reaction was to play knight g3, but at the last moment, I got really afraid of ghosts, as we say. Pawn takes, bishop takes. All of a sudden, I calculated the line that after queen takes e5, queen takes f2, king here, I lose the bishop, and I'm actually busted. I got really scared that something has gone terribly wrong. But in reality, nothing to be afraid. Simple chess, knight e4 solidifies this outpost, controls f2, and black is left with terrible, terrible weaknesses. Only white can be better here. And finally, besides knight g3, another logical move is simply b4. This move did not really occur to me for whatever reason, maybe because I was under pressure. But the idea here is just to play b5. The rook can enter the game, and white maintains very nice central pressure on the e-file. It's going to be quite difficult for black to come up with a plan, and I think Magnus would be under pressure. When I looked at this position with the best engines in the world, I asked my friend Grandmaster Larry Kaufman, the author of the Komodo chess engine, to take a look at his supercomputer. They did not find a forced win after b4, yet in every line, white has an advantage. Black just has to defend, kind of have this fortress, maybe play rook h7, or king g7, or bishop g7, just kind of wait for me to start the attack and try to defend. So this was a huge mistake on my part, and the rest is excellent game for Magnus. Now the momentum shifts. Even though I'm a pawn up, the endgame is not pleasant at all. Once again, because of these crippled pawns, I play rook c1. Now Magnus is in his element. He has pure instinct from God where to put pieces in these kind of technical positions. He realized this knight is perfectly placed, the rook is well placed, this guy is not so well placed, he's going to redirect it to better square. So knight c8, knight e1, knight e7, and now he's going to open up the h-file. Maybe I should have played h5, but honestly, it felt like this pawn will be too loose, especially for various ideas when the knight's coming to f6. So I took, and here came my blunder. This is a terrible blunder. b4, forgetting that he can attack my pawn with a tempo. And after the move rook h4, I am close to losing. I think white can still maintain equality with the move g3. I simply have nothing to fear. The king is going to escape to f3, and later on it's going to be quite difficult for black to create any kind of threat. Still, black is a little bit more pleasant, but white is not losing. Whereas the move b4 gives him a huge tempo, I have to protect the pawn. Another tempo, back rank mate. F3 doesn't work here because of knight F4, knight takes, and now check, winning the rook on C1. So I have to play G3, and my king goes for a walk. Magnus plays excellent. Check, check, and now beautiful way to win the F2 pawn. Check. I have to take. If king E2, then knight F5. And guess what? This threat is simply unstoppable. So I tube the pawn, takes, rook takes F2. All right, let's pause for a second and just look at this position. White is really in bad shape. My king is totally wide open. Two pieces, two knights rather, and the rook, and the pawn will be attacking my king. I have no defenders left on the king side. In the meantime, look at this bishop. A laughing stock of white's position. Absolutely horrible bishop. Looks like a big fat pawn. The same with the rook and the knight. Really terrible pieces. So at this point, who cares about extra material? I simply give the pawn back. F5, important intermezzo. Rook takes. Tempo move on the rook. Rook C2. And now I play B5, trying to get rid of that annoying B pawn. Magnus finds a beautiful mate in that. Knight F6 with a big threat of knight G4, rook H2 mate. So I stop it with the move rook B3, hopefully trying to play rook to B2. Yet rook E2, another powerful move. Total paralysis. The knight is paralyzed. The bishop on E1 is kind of useless. I play B6, takes, knight E4, and what a picturesque position. Look at this domination. Rook, knight, pawn. White resigned. That's right. I have actually no way of trying to survive this game. If I play any kind of random move, he's gonna play mate and 3, check, and rook H2 mate. And if I play rook B2, the move that I planned to play during the game, I realize that I am simply gonna drop a piece. And with the piece up, there is really no hope to play against the world champion. That's why I resigned. This is totally hopeless and no need to play on. Wow, what a game, what an opening, and lots of drama. Well, I was really happy to have played this game and to have Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, on the ropes. He proved to be an incredible defender, big fighter, and duly outplayed me from a better endgame. So I hope you guys get to see more of my videos. Go to my website, ChessOpeningsExplained.com, and learn how to get great positions out of the openings. Thank you very much. This was Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn.